excited to be here. Thanks for coming. We're going to chat through PLM MES integration. Before we jump into some quick intros, so my name is William. I lead our U.S. alliances with Tulip.
My name is Chris Brickner. I am the Director of Quality Assurance and Regulatory Compliance at Echodyne.
I'm Marshall Wood. My title at PTC Arena is Senior Customer Success Coach. So it's kind of a post-sales role where I help users of Arena to get the most out of the system, whether it's best practices or teaching them new modules, new features, advocating for them internally. So a whole host of post-sales sort of roles.
Perfect. Thank you. So, gentlemen, I'm curious, why this topic? I mean, we're at a manufacturing conference. We're talking about engineering. We're talking about PLM. What's the, why do this? Before we get into the how and then the what and the tactical, like, why is it important for PLM and MES to be on the same page?
Yeah. So we've just recently implemented Tulip in our manufacturing area. Primarily, we wanted to get off a paper-based and file system-based system that stores data and primarily our electronic device history record. Wasn't secure. People could make changes, and it just wasn't something that we wanted. So we wanted to quickly get off of that, implement Tulip, and have a clear process for our build process that would populate our DHR automatically, and implement some control points along the manufacturing assembly side. We also wanted to maintain our PLM system and use our PLM system as our document of record. So we pull in our SOPs and our work instructions, and so that the operators have it right up in front of them, and they go step by step in the assembly process.
Yeah, it's all about that single source of truth, right? You want to have one place to go to with one version of that bill of materials and those files that describe your engineering efforts, right? And I had a chance to catch the tail end of the previous session, and one of the guys on the panel said something about having the same data within the same document listed multiple times. And if you get an update to that and you correct it in 5 of 6 places, you're already at risk right there, right? So to have one place where you go to get the definitive answer for your product record is just integral.
So everyone says single source of truth, but it's just that. Single source of truth for engineering, for documentation, for EDHR, a clear single source of truth for manufacturing execution. Mm-hmm. One thing I love, Chris, you touch on is, look, this is hard for anyone, any industry, but especially aerospace and defense. Mm. I mean, AS9100 regulation is no joke. Right. Walk us through the additional complexity, because this is a complex engineered aerospace product.
Yeah. So we have a lot of standards we have to meet, but how we do that is up to us, and we can employ control points that ensures that we're providing the best quality product in everything from receiving inspection all the way through manufacturing and out the door. Yes, we do follow the regulations within AS9100, but it's also the right thing to do because our customers demand it, and we want to provide that for them.
Perfect. I love how you said that. This isn't just a necessary evil of, hey, we got to do it to be compliant, but this is just necessary for scale in production.
I mean, you can look at it like, and that's kind of the messaging. When I started at Echodyne, I developed our QMS, and I was kind of evangelizing it across the organization that had never been around a QMS before. So they were, what's the benefit to me kind of thing. And as soon as we kind of ingrain that culture of quality within the organization, that we're doing right by our customers, because we're technically saving lives out there, and they depend on that. So it's not a real, once you have that perspective, it's you want to do your best job every day.
Absolutely. Clear purpose. I love it. Zooming out, Marshall, I'm curious, beyond some of these specific Echodyne examples, just in general, I mean, what are some common friction points between PLM, MES, and like what kind of use cases do you usually use to address those?
Yeah, well, I mean, the kind of classic example of those kind of friction points or inefficiencies is, again, getting back to the single source of truth. I'm kind of beating that home here, but you imagine, manufacturing tech sits down to put something together, and they start from the get-go with the wrong documentation, right? So having that connectedness back to the single source of truth is just so important. And then you imagine also, maybe you get the right data, but you don't realize that, the guy that worked the previous shift found, something was out of spec, something was non-conforming, and already reported it, and it's in some system somewhere. But if you're not clued into that kind of information, then again, you're starting right off on the wrong foot, and the result of that is going to be rework or worse, scrap. So.
So you mentioned one element, rework, scrap. There's a quality constraint. I think. What about other value levers? I'm thinking of one angle I'll toss out. Curious what you guys think is like, if you can shorten the feedback loop to go through one design build iteration from 2 months to a month. I mean, that's twice as many at bats you have a year to build the right product.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, before this kind of thought of having this sort of feedback, PLM was very much of a point in time, right? You get your engineers doing their work in their CAD environments. They're sending that data into PLM where it's getting approved and checked and so forth, and then on to ERP, right? And maybe onto the shop floor. But now it's not just that, right? It's that feedback path that allows you to, bring that information back in front of the people who can correct it, right? In the case of a nonconformance, absolutely.
Perfect.
We also really like that the information is right at the fingertips of our operators, and they don't have to worry that their document that they're looking at is the latest version, because they know it is. That's what's presented to them. Any changes initially gets changed in Arena, goes through the approval process, review process, and ultimately presented back to the operator.
Clear feedback loop, operator engagement. It's interesting, you think, hey, manufacturing is the only thing you need to engage the operator, but it's really anything that touches the part. I love that. Chris, I'm curious. Look, you've had a history with QMS systems, PLMs. I mean, look, Arena is a cloud-native software. Tulip is a cloud-native platform. Like, how does that change the game for you in terms of like the ability to iterate, in terms of fine-tuning and configuring these platforms?
Yeah, I've been emailing our IT systems director and asking what, because we're so new to Tulip, we're still finding out how we can use it, and implementing AI tools is kind of the next thing. And so I'm emailing him back and forth, and what do we have licenses for? Because we're cloud-based, that's a little bit of a restraint. But that if you set up the open systems and that they're all in the Gov Cloud or whatever system that you feel appropriate for your products, it seems very seamless. I'm really excited about the opportunities that lay ahead, and we really want to drive efficiency in our manufacturing process and try to turn the tide of some NCRs that we're seeing and really become more efficient in our products.
Perfect. I like that. So we talked about process. We talked about EDHR process, capturing the device history records correctly with Tulip and Arena. We talked about the tech we talked about the need for an open architecture, REST APIs, connecting with your team, being able to configure and fine-tune the tool how you need it. Well, like one final topic would be, people. It seems like, look, you can have awesome APIs, you can have, awesome streaming architecture, agents, and, whatever's beyond agents. But it seems like at the end of the day, you cannot forget about making sure the design engineer walks over down the hall, talks to a process engineer, the two of them walk out to the shop floor and talk to the supervisor and say, hey, let's make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Like, how do you make sure it's not just a, hey, tech problem, let's make sure the APIs are rocking and rolling, but like, fundamentally, people need to talk to people to solve problems.
Yeah, it's really all in your DFX process. And, design for manufacturing is a very key part of what we do. And we started doing that about a year ago, and it's really proved beneficial so that we don't run into any surprises in the manufacturing area. Everything's been vetted and thought through and collaborated with our engineers and our manufacturing engineers, and you talk about validating changes, and all that is very vital to that process.
I like that because I think sometimes we can think DFX or design for assembly, design for production, design for really anything. We think it's hey, have the right SOP, have the right tools, call it a day. But I liked how you mentioned it's people executing those processes with the right collaborative culture. So that's
and you've got to get that. In today's really geographically distributed kind of environments, you've really got to consider that it might not be possible for that person to walk over and say, how's it going?
That's a good point. It could be a team's call.
So to have that stuff show up in somebody's inbox, right in somebody's in a tool that they're comfortable using, right? Not some tool that they use only in these special occasions, but the familiar, entrapments of PLM or MES or ERP or whatever, get that stuff right in front of them. And that's what these kind of connections, integrations allow you to do.
Yeah, and it looks like Tulip and Arena really make that communication process happen early in the project, because you don't want to find out after you've gone through a whole bunch of engineering that it's not possible based on certain configurations that you've already implemented, and you want to really vet that out before you are ready to go move to manufacturing.
Got to identify those problems early. Makes sense.
Always.
Makes sense. Always. That's the system V curve, right? Get those things sorted out early.
Got it.
I know we didn't have this written down, but I was just thinking through the conference. There's been a big push on agents, on AI native agents in Tulip and other systems. I know we've talked a lot about how Tulip agents, they can obviously make use of connectors. One of those connectors is PTC Arena. So that got me thinking, hey, down the road, what is a kind of a quality manager Tulip agent with access to all of the Arena content? Like what does that look like, and what does that deliver for Echodyne?
Yeah, so we implemented Tulip to shore up some processes and do no harm in the process. But now that we've gone through the kind of implementation processes, and it's starting to really work for us now, we want to integrate a lot more quality tools within Tulip and provide, right now our receiving inspection is, we built some kind of AI tools around it, and we really want to get those things into Tulip so that it's a single source instead of going to outside in the file systems, and then look at how we can integrate our non-conforming operations in our non-conformance records and CAPA processes within using our PLM system, which is our quality system too, and use Tulip to pull that information in from Arena. So we have a lot of things we are really excited about implementing, and so there's a a lot of stuff we want to do.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine having an agent within Arena and an agent within Tulip, and that they're sharing information, and an operator on either system can say, what's the current state of this product, right? Are there open change orders? Are there open quality records? Are there open change requests, et cetera, against this thing? And know, right in their own environment, they can see this response and based on data from a system that they might not any idea how to use or get into.
Automating our final inspection is a big time-consuming savings. So that's something we want to do right away.
I like that. And Marshall, I like that point that it's not necessarily just an agent in Tulip asking questions about PLM data, but it could also be an agent in the PLM in Arena saying, hey, I'm the engineering agent. How do I make better parts? What can I learn from the shop floor and iterate on design?
Leverage that data that was entered from the in that feedback loop from the shop floor back into fantastic.
There's no DFX without a feedback loop. You've got to have the full circle.
Yeah.
You can't just push stuff to manufacturing or push stuff back to the engineers. This is helpful. Okay, so we've covered a couple of value props. I want to make sure we've covered them all, though. I'll recap a couple, and then let's throw in a few others. I think we talked a little bit about, look, obviously the biggest one is you track your defects better. You get more holistic view of your NCRs and your root cause. You can mitigate a lot of scrap, mitigate a lot of rework with a tighter, PLM to MES integration. There's also the somewhat more qualitative, iterative design. Hey, I can go from an engineer has an idea, updates the drawing, now it's in production. If I can have that, I have twice as many design iterations for a rapidly growing product. What other kinds of value props, if you're talking to a VP of finance, a CFO, and they say, hey, how much is this worth? How much is this integrated system, this cohesion between PLM and MES, how much is this worth? What other levers would you all pull on?
Yeah, we are very much a growing company. We've kind of moved away from a startup, but now we're in the growth phase, and we're looking for efficiency. That's a primary problem we want to solve and get as efficient as possible. We also get a lot of suggested features or improvements to our existing radar systems from our customers. And we want to be able to feed that into, it kind of goes through our sales team, and it feeds us into engineering, and then likewise to manufacturing. But those are some of the things that we want to do very soon with the value stream.
I like that. Production efficiency. There's also a broader DFX loop that this is enabling eventually, not just manufacturer to engineer, but customer back to manufacturing, back to engineering. Where did the field error occur? Was it in manufacturing, or is it a design flaw?
Yeah. Then also you've got, as we've both said a couple of times, right? You're keeping people in one environment, right? I remember the first time I had in an engineering environment had exposure to Oracle, right? Or insert your favorite ERP system. And you got training in it, you looked at it a little bit, and then you found out, these seats are too expensive, right? We can't give you everybody an ERP seat, so you're stuck in what you have today. And now you're not stuck really, right? You're getting this communication between these systems, and you're leveraging that data, but you don't necessarily have to buy a seat for every engineer to have ERP. And the same thing kind of follows here, right? You can those PLM users can work in PLM, MES can work in MES, and so forth. And there's another benefit to be gained there financially.
Keep your native tool, keep your native interface.
Yeah.
You're a supervisor, you're an operator, stay in Tulip. You're an engineer, stay in Arena, but get access to the right data.
Exactly.
Don't have to swivel chair between two interfaces all day. Okay. Well, we've got about 5 or so minutes left. I want to open it up to Q&A, and whether it's about Echodyne or broader, PLM, MES integrations.
Back in
On the back.
I'm just curious about your journey on getting that approved, right, to run on the cloud and the Gov Cloud. Was there any hurdles, or what did you have to go through, to get that accepted?
No, I think our leadership team knew the benefits and requirements from our customers that would require us to have a secure environment. And so getting into the cloud was kind of a no-brainer. It's something we needed to do. And really, it is customer-driven, but it's a good benefit to have on your AS9100 journey. That's something that the auditing bodies know that you take seriously, is security in your data.
Yeah, one question. Can you give some examples which data you pass from the PLM to your Tulip front line?
Yeah, well, right now it's primarily our documents, our SOPs and work instruction that live in Arena, and so and then we want to be able to integrate training records and have that be that now live in Arena and port those over to Tulip so that we can ensure that using controls that our assemblers are trained to what they're doing, and that can be all automated. And so we've got a long way to go, but it's a clean slate right now. So.
You mentioned the customer kind of driven a lot of this, right? Curious what data you might have made available to them, or is there certain, from a regulatory perspective, is there anything that you need to provide back to them, either from the PLM or MES that you're providing?
Well, certainly, if there's any issues that they're having with our products, although we do have a less than 1% field failure rate. So, but anything that if there's something that we notice with a part that we need to notify fielded customers that have our fielded product, we would use the data from Tulip in our DHR, and so we can tell which unit serial number is affected, and if our customers are affected, we notify them right away. We've not had to do that, but it is in our processes. But if our customers are driving improvements, we do keep them up to date on the progress of that and when they might see it in the market. We have a lot of customer partners that work with us in testing some of our engineering units and give us feedback that way too.
Are any of the products that you're building with Tulip now defense or military related? And if so, has that any extra?
Yeah, we are in the counter UAS space. So we have some customers that are using our radar systems to solve their problems. So yeah, there's a few applications that our customers use that are in the military areas.
One final closing question. You're on a journey. You're accelerating. You got PLM, QMS, MES via Tulip on the cloud. You're rocking and rolling. Are the primes going to catch up?
The primes?
The aerospace and defense primes, the OEMs, larger ones. I mean, you're nimbly moving fast. Is the rest of the industry going to move fast with you?
I think they have to move as fast as we are too. So we want to meet them along the way. We don't want to be ahead of them. We don't want to be, behind them either. Yeah. So they need our product right away, and based on what's happening around the globe right now, and so that's where a lot of our growth is coming from. But we don't see a downturn in the need of all of our suite of products. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we're definitely growing.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the discussion.
Thank you.